Okay, so I know it's kind of hard to see where I am right now, or the room that I'm in. It's not lit real well. I just did my first take on this vlog, and I had to redo it because there's a parrot talking in the background. We're pet sitting a parrot temporarily, hopefully temporarily, and I didn't realize he was as loud as he was. So in the background he was a major distraction. So you still might be able to hear him. If you do hear some nonsense besides my nonsense, it's Paco, the parrot. All right, I don't know if you can see these pink stains on my shirt, but if you're old enough to remember the hypercolor shirts where you blow on them and they change colors, this is not one of them. This is benzoyl peroxide stains. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is two concrete examples of evil. I've talked about, I've alluded to child abduction, rape, murder, etc. But when we don't have concrete examples, we just think of them in abstract terms, and they don't impact us unless we have these examples. They don't impact us as much. So, by the way, John Wesley, he says that the God of Calvinism is worse than the devil. And he said that because not only is God ordaining and wanting this evil to happen that the devil would want to happen, and that the devil would ordain if he could, but God's doing it in an indirect way, which is really deceptive on his part. That's the God of, in Wesley's view, the God of Calvinism then is worse than the devil. And John Wesley is, when you think of Arminianism, he is kind of, it's not named after him, it's named after Jacob Arminius, but John Wesley's kind of the guy when you think of Arminianism. He was a huge advocate of it, and I believe he lived in the 1700s. So really not, well, I guess it was long ago, but not thousands of years ago or anything. Okay. And Menno Simons, the founder of the Mennonites, whom I absolutely love, the Mennonites, he said that he wasn't quite as harsh as Wesley, but he said you make God into a devil when you start saying that God ordains evil. And he lived, I want to say, in the 1500s. So he was actually around before the word Arminian or Calvinist was the words that they are today. So the two concrete examples I'm going to share. The first one comes from a book called God at War by Greg Boyd. If you know me at all, you know I have an affinity for Greg Boyd's works. And he tells this story for the exact same reason that I'm telling it, so that we have a concrete example of evil in our heads, and it's not abstract. So both these stories happened during the Holocaust. So this girl, Zosha, don't know how to pronounce her name, she was walking down the road with her mom in Warsaw, Poland. These two Nazis, who were accompanied by two women, also on the Nazi side, they approached Zosia and her mom. The two women restrained Zosia's mom, and the two men went up to Zosia and said, "She has beautiful eyes. They would look prettier in our hands." So with her mom watching, these Nazis proceeded to pluck her eyes out. Yeah, that's right. They plucked her eyes out in front of her mom, and then they started laughing. And, I mean, we, in our Western, American, comfortable environment, we can't fathom something like that happening. That isn't to say we don't have real tragedies here in America, but I don't think any of us, will ever experience something like that. And almost mercifully, they came and murdered Zosia 3 days later. I'm careful to say that because, murder really isn't merciful, but man. Okay, the next one is based on a movie. Well, the movie is based on a true story, but it's called Sophie's Choice. And I don't know how the story ends, and frankly, I don't want to know. But you don't need to know how the story ends in order to get the point of how horrific this is. The Nazis, Sophie had 2 boys, and the Nazis were going to murder one of her boys. But they told Sophie that she had to pick which boy was going to be murdered, and if she didn't pick which boy was going to be murdered, they were going to kill both of them. So I'll just repeat that. She had 2 boys. They were going to kill one, at least. And if she didn't pick which one, they were going to kill both of them. Okay, now, I don't know how that lines up with the God who died for us on a cross, forgiving those who were putting him to death. Now, just because I can't imagine something doesn't make it untrue. But I can't imagine... Did I say that right? Anyways, yeah, I think you get the point. I can't imagine God being in heaven just trying to come up with these horrific situations and how he could how he could torture people in the greatest possible way. That doesn't line up with Jesus Christ. It doesn't line up with the God of love. What it lines up with is God, in that view, in the Calvinistic view, ordaining those 2 concrete examples of evil. That is equating, that parallels God's heart with the heart of the most wicked people that have ever lived on earth, namely, or in this example, the Nazis. God's heart is equivalent to the heart of the Nazis when you say that he ordained this stuff. Alright, I'm getting a little too passionate. You get the point, I hope. Thanks for listening. We'll see you later.